My name is Ken. I work as a salesman for a kitchen equipment manufacturer. It's been 7 years since I graduated from college. I'm neither a top salesman or particularly poor in sales performance. Well, I guess I'm just an average employee. About 1 month before the new fiscal year, a merger with a foreign company was announced. So, the merger talks have finally reached our company. I wonder if there will be any layoffs. I was vaguely thinking about such things. The sales department underwent significant changes. All the sales, administrative staff who used to create documents like materials and quotes were either laid off or transferred to subsidiaries, and administrative tasks were outsourced to a staffing agency. Then, a new boss from the parent foreign company, named David, was appointed to the sales department. David gave his inaugural speech. From today, I'm appointed as a sales manager. The focus here is to aggressively secure maintenance contracts and snatch them from competitors. That's all. He seemed strict. That was my first impression when I saw David. Afterward, 2 temporary staff who would handle sales administration were introduced. These are Taylor and Maya, who will be handling the paperwork from now on. Each of you, please introduce yourselves briefly. Prompted by David, Taylor introduced herself first. Nice to meet you all. I'm Taylor. I played basketball in high school, so I'm quite tall at 6 foot. Don't be intimidated by my height. Feel free to ask me anything. Then Maya, the other person, also greeted us. My name is Maya, named after the gods of spring. As you can guess from my name, I was born in May. I'll do my best, and I'm looking forward to working with you. Standing next to Taylor, she seemed quite small. Both of them were excellent at their jobs. Precise and incredibly fast. We were really grateful for their help. In the sales department, we had 8 salesmen, so Maya and Taylor divided their responsibilities, each supporting 4 salesmen. Maya was in charge of me. She was cheerful and easygoing. Maya, sorry to bother you, but could you manage to get this contract renewal done by the day after tomorrow? For Ken's hard work, I'll make it happen, she answered with a smile. After they left for the day, us guys often talked among ourselves. I wonder if Maya has a boyfriend. She's cute. She probably does. If she doesn't, I'd like to be a candidate. Maya was really popular. It's like I have a ton of rivals. I chuckled to myself, thinking about it. As we got used to the new structure in the department, we started to understand more things. Especially about David. He didn't seem to be very good at his job. He just kept telling us to get contracts and work hard, but he didn't even know what kind of kitchen equipment we dealt with. Even though he was sent from the main office, he should at least learn the basics. And David, it seems, had his eyes on Maya. Lately, he's been frequently approaching her with a grin. Maya, how about lunch with me today? Before lunch, while carrying documents, David casually walked past Maya and spoke to her from behind. David, I'm sorry, I appreciate your kind invitation, but I usually have lunch here with my packed meal alongside Taylor. She turned him down straightforwardly. Eventually, David's invitations began to border on what might be considered inappropriate in terms of compliance. Maya, if lunch is no good, how about dinner? I'll take you to a hotel restaurant, and you're welcome to stay with me until morning. You sure have a sense of humor, David. She gave him a wry smile. We male employees present exchanged glances, wondering, what is he saying? What's up with this guy? But the next day, David beckoned Maya over and said, I have a favor to ask of you. He then handed her a cardboard box overflowing with documents. Sure, what is it? Well, this. She looked a bit anxious. Then, with a sly smile, David said, I need all these documents converted to legal size by the end of today, and put his arm around her shoulder. She tried to move away while holding the cardboard box, obviously struggling. "David, we standardize all company documents in letter size, and you want them redone in legal size." When she asked, he said, "Yes, but if you agree to have dinner with me tonight, I'll forget about this task. It's not an urgent job. Just harassment to get her to obey him." That's what I thought, and I quickly walked up to them. "David, that's not right. She's clearly uncomfortable. Let's stop this kind of borderline harassment, shall we?" I said this and moved his hand off her shoulder. David turned red with anger. "It's none of your business," he said. I promptly replied, "Is that so? Then, I guess it's okay to report this to the ethics committee. Besides, it's not good for a married man like you to do such things, is it?" David, looking frustrated, fell silent. Then he glared at me intensely and left the room. I told Maya, "I'll take care of these," and took the box full of documents. She was deeply grateful to me and said, "Thank you so much for standing up for me. I'm sorry." In the following week, I kind of knew. I was handed a transfer order. Transferred to the online sales department. The job in my new department, the online sales division, involved registering imported goods on an e-commerce website. This department primarily consisted of part-time and temporary staff handling these tasks. Clearly, it was a demotion as a form of retaliation. That's what I got for standing up to David. Well, that's fine. I quickly packed up and left the sales department. For the first month in the new department, I quietly did the same work as everyone else, registering imported goods. Isn't there something more I can do as a former salesperson? I thought about this as I idly opened a video site. Then, one video caught my eye. It was a video where the uploader was using a home appliance, demonstrating how it works. They cooked stew in a new slow cooker, showing how delicious the stew looked when done, and even browned the meat in it, highlighting its versatility beyond just cooking stew. That's it. That's the idea. I suddenly realized we could get people to use our products, share their feedback in videos, and distribute them. How about that for promotion? When I discussed it with the sales promotion and public relations departments, they quickly approved my proposal. So, I immediately started the video promotion campaign. The response from viewers was great, and the orders, they tripled. Then, I decided to regularly introduce products for videos. 3 months after my transfer to the e-commerce department, I received an email from Tom, the head of the main office. I was surprised by its content. It stated that the advertising budget for the online sales department would be tripled. Moreover, if the expenses still weren't enough, I was allowed to directly request additional funds from Tom. Well, I can't believe we're getting so much for advertising. It seems unbelievable. I was utterly speechless. The following week, something even more surprising happened. I was appointed as the section chief of the online sales department. This promotion ignited my spirit for even greater challenges. The strength of online sales lies in not being confined to the domestic market. Moreover, since our company deals with imported goods, there are advantages like easy shipping from overseas bases if we expand the market abroad. My next plan was to promote our products overseas through video campaigns, similar to what we have been doing domestically. However, my French was only good enough to understand middle school level material. I didn't understand Chinese at all. I lacked the language skills necessary for negotiating with people overseas. So, I immediately consulted with Tom about this issue. To my relief, he responded quickly, agreeing to assign a temp employee who was proficient in both French and Chinese. Well, a temp staff member. I hoped for someone bright and approachable like Taylor or Maya. As I thought this, I received an internal email from Tom the next day, saying, A staff member will be assigned to you starting today. Please take good care of her. Such a quick response. It's incredibly helpful. As I was reading the email, I heard a cheerful woman's voice behind me. Good morning. I'm Maya, and I'll be under your care starting today. I turned around, doubting my eyes and ears. Maya. As I stared at her in disbelief, she said happily, "Thank you so much for that time. After you were transferred, everyone in the department went to the ethics committee about that incident. Afterwards, David was transferred, or rather, sent to a factory in China. It's all thanks to you for stepping in courageously." She said this and smiled. That's good to hear. I was really worried after that, whether David was still persistently bothering you. I inadvertently spoke my true feelings. But Maya, you're amazing. Not only are you skilled in computer, but also proficient in French and Chinese. And I'm surprised Tom was aware of your abilities. As I said this, Maya's expression turned serious as she began to explain. Actually, I'm a mystery shopper, assigned by Tom. Are you familiar with that role? Mystery shopper. I don't know much about it, but isn't it about secretly evaluating customer service and food quality in restaurants? Yes, exactly right. She responded, pointing her index finger as if on a quiz show. My role is like a corporate version of that. To avoid the usual pretense during official audits, I was conducting investigations under the guise of a temp staff. Only my uncle, Tom, and I knew about this. Maya, your uncle is Tom. I was so surprised, I almost fell over. The idea that the competent yet fresh-faced Maya was a mystery shopper was beyond my wildest thoughts. It felt like something out of a spy movie. That explains it. Now it made sense why Tom personally increased the advertising budget and assigned a multilingual talent like Maya so quickly. I'm really shocked. As I could only utter these words, Maya chuckled softly. Then, she smiled sweetly at me and said, "Ken, I wanted to thank you for that time. Would you like to join me for lunch today?" "Lunch?" I asked in surprise. She laughed and playfully asked, "Was that reverse harassment, compliance-wise?" "No, I'd be delighted," I answered, grateful for this incredibly joyful surprise. Half a year later, Maya and I became the strongest partners, both professionally and personally. I've been leading a smooth sailing life, with virtually no worries at work, but there's one issue that's been on my mind. It's about being invited to a home party by Maya's father, who is the executive vice president of the head office. Surprisingly, not only is her uncle the head of our division, but her father is the executive vice president of the whole company. I was astonished when I found out, and again, I was speechless. And now, I'm planning to talk to her father at the party about our relationship with Maya, which is headed towards marriage. Maya keeps reassuring me that my dad is a gentle person, so it'll be fine, but as the day of the party approaches, I can't help but feel increasingly nervous. With the home party just 2 weeks away, I've been feeling a bit queasy. Whether she knows about my anxiety or not, Maya seems excited about the party every day. "Hey, let's go look at dresses for the party on our next day official." "Sounds good." Seeing her innocently smiling, I feel relieved. Maybe Maya has been conducting her own kind of mystery shopper evaluation on me as a future husband. If that's the case, maybe I've passed. I chuckled to myself at the thought, which is probably just a figment of my imagination. Everything will be all right. I keep encouraging myself with these thoughts, hoping that my meeting with her father will go well. On the morning of an important job interview, an incident occurred. "I'm heading that way too, so I'll help you out." "Oh, thank you." An elderly woman struggling with a large suitcase. I immediately offered to help, taking half of the load. So far, so good. After safely escorting the elderly woman to the ticket gate and handing over her luggage, I reached into my pocket to pass through the gate myself and realized, wait, it's not here. My wallet, which should have been in my pocket, was missing. The wallet contained my train ticket. I was sure I had it when I left home in the morning. I double-checked several times because my mom told me to. Did I drop it around here? I frantically looked around, but there were too many people to see it anywhere. With so many people walking around, it was impossible to find the wallet. I checked my watch in a panic, realizing there wasn't much time left before the interview. I guess I have no choice but to buy a ticket and head to the venue. But it bothered me to leave the lost wallet as it was. What should I do? If I keep dilly-dallying, I'll be late for both the exam and the interview. My mind was racing with various thoughts, and I was panicking, unable to make a sound decision. Just then, someone suddenly spoke to me. "Are you looking for something?" I turned around to see a gentleman in a hat, smiling warmly. He had such a calm aura that I almost forgot the hustle and bustle around me and answered him. "Ah, yes, I lost something. Is this yours?" The gentleman slowly extended a wallet. A navy blue checkered wallet. It was indeed mine. I exclaimed with relief. "This is it. Thank goodness. That's good. I'm glad you found it." "Thank you so much. You really helped me. If you don't mind, I'd like to offer you a token of appreciation." "You're in a hurry, right? You'll miss your appointment," he said, and I looked at my watch to see the time for my planned train was approaching. I could still make it in time. "Thank you so much. I must be going now." I thanked him and hurried through the ticket gate. I managed to catch the train on schedule and arrived at the venue without being late. I settled into my seat, relieved. I made it in time. The exam started shortly after. I felt fairly confident about my performance. Next was the interview with the examiners. This was the most crucial part. Looking around, everyone's faces were tense. I needed to relax myself. I had to go in with confidence that I would definitely pass it. "Next candidate, please come in." The person before me finished their interview, and it was my turn. I entered the room nervously but followed the practice procedure. "Excuse me." As I entered and greeted, I froze the moment I looked inside the room. "Please take a seat." I recognized the smiling man sitting at the center of the long table. He was the same elderly gentleman who had picked up my wallet. He was smiling just as he had at the station. "Well, you made it here safely, I see." "Yes. Thank you for earlier." "Mr. Johnson, was there something?" One of the interviewers sitting next to the elderly gentleman asked him. "Oh, just a little story. He was helping an elderly woman and almost got late." The elderly gentleman explained what had happened at the station, and the interviewers listened with interest. "Have you been watching me since then, Mr. Johnson?" I suddenly realized. I looked closely, and the elderly gentleman nodded with a smile. "I'm the president of this company. I was very impressed to see that you, despite your own situation, helped someone else. It showed me that you're a compassionate person." The interview went smoothly, and later, I successfully received a job offer from the company. Mr. Johnson is always smiling and takes good care of his employees. A company is nothing without its employees. If we don't value our staff, we can value our customers. He truly believed in putting employees first. That's why he took a special interest in new employee interviews, having memorized the faces of candidates from their resumes. He happened to see me at the station and decided to observe. He had seen me helping the elderly woman with her luggage and finding my dropped wallet, and he was the one who picked it up and gave it back to me. If Mr. Johnson hadn't been there, I might not have made it to the exam or the interview and could have ended up job hunting again. I vowed to work hard for Mr. Johnson and the company. Then, shortly afterward, something happened. Mr. Johnson suddenly passed away. It was within half a year of my joining the company. He had a heart attack, and it happened so quickly. I knew he wasn't young and wasn't in the best health, but I was speechless at the suddenness of it all. I hadn't even had a chance to repay his kindness. On the day I heard the news, I couldn't focus on work and went home to cry. A few days later, Mr. Johnson's funeral was held. Due to his personality, many mourners attended. Mr. Johnson's portrait in the funeral showed his usual gentle smile. As a new employee, I was told to wait in the corner, so I observed the visitors, and a woman entered. Despite wearing a modest mourning dress, she radiated an elegant beauty. Her straight black hair and large eyes were striking. "She's stunning," I muttered, and my colleague, James, spoke to me. "Don't you know, she's well known in the company?" According to James, her name was Emily. She was the head of the sales department. I worked in administration, so I hadn't had the chance to meet her and didn't know about her. She was not only beautiful but also competent, and at her young age, she was already a department head. A true elite female executive. Wow, impressive. Emily completed her registration and entered the venue. People around whispered as they watched her. Some even looked displeased, which felt oddly uncomfortable. "Doesn't this seem weird, everyone's attitude?" I remarked, and James nodded heavily. "Well, yeah, there's a rumor that she was Mr. Johnson's mistress." "Really?" "Yeah, there's endless gossip. People say she only got her achievements by flattering Mr. Johnson, or her unprecedented quick rise is because she was Mr. Johnson's woman. But that's all speculation, right?" "Well, yes. The truth is a mystery." I looked at Emily again. Despite the surrounding rumors, which she must have heard, she was just looking at Mr. Johnson's portrait, closing her eyes and shedding tears. Whether it was out of pure respect or love, as the rumors suggested, I couldn't tell. Nevertheless, it was evident that she was genuinely grieving. Some time after the funeral, I was transferred to the sales department. I became part of the team led by Emily, who then became my boss. "Nice to work with you. Good luck, Tom. Looking forward to working with you, rookie. Watch out for the leader's charm, though." My colleagues and seniors threw jeers and jibes at me. Despite being blatantly spoken ill of, Emily didn't seem bothered and continued to smile kindly. Afterward, she taught me about sales very kindly, even though I knew nothing about it. Sometimes she was strict, but she was always earnest. The environment in her department wasn't great. Everyone believed the bad rumors and talked behind her back. There must have been jealousy towards her for achieving a high position at a young age. Some team members even called her evil. But I couldn't believe those rumors after seeing her tears at the funeral. A person who mourns another's passing so deeply can be bad. That's why I just couldn't bring myself to believe the rumors. One day, as part of my sales training, I had the opportunity to accompany Emily to a meeting. Her work was impeccable. This smooth interaction without making the other party uncomfortable seemed hard to emulate. After the meeting, we went to have lunch together, and she asked me a question. "Do you think you can handle the sales job? It's challenging, but I'll give it my all. I promised the late Mr. Johnson that I would become a respectable professional and support this company." Upon hearing this, Emily looked surprised. "To the late Mr. Johnson, it's challenging, but I'm doing my best. I promised the late Mr. Johnson to become a respectable professional and support this company." "So am I," she said. Seeing my surprise, Emily smiled. It turned out that she too had been helped by Mr. Johnson when she was a newcomer. She didn't share the details, but it seemed like she had some very important memories associated with him. "That's why I also want to repay Mr. Johnson and support this company," she said, smiling. Seeing her smile, I felt a closer connection with her. After accompanying her on several work occasions, an unexpected incident happened one day. I was at a business entertainment event recently. The VIP from the other company seemed to really enjoy alcohol and started drinking heavily from the beginning. I like social drinking, but it can be so challenging. Thinking this, I focused on the task of entertaining. Emily was also drinking a little while pouring drinks for the other party. It seemed the other party was getting quite drunk. Looking at Emily, he smirked and said, "Emily, you are truly beautiful. Your presence alone brightens up the place." "Thank you," she replied. "Why are you in the sales department? A beauty like you should be in the secretarial division. The former president, Mr. Johnson, really missed out." Hearing those words, Emily momentarily stopped pouring drinks. I inadvertently stopped in my tracks too. If you were a secretary and always by my side, my days would be so much more enjoyable. I wonder if Mr. Johnson ever made a move on you. The client's representative burst out with a crude laugh. Emily forced a smile, but her face was tense. Hearing this, I felt my blood boil. His words towards Emily and the disrespectful remarks about her Mr. Anderson were too much. I couldn't hold back any longer. A part of me was screaming to stop, but my anger took over. I slammed the table, stood up, and shouted, "Don't you dare insult Mr. Johnson and Emily." I then splashed a pint of beer right in the client's face. For a moment, everyone around was stunned, not understanding what had happened. The client, drenched from head to toe, looked shocked. I don't remember much about what happened after that. Later, I was called in by the new president, Mr. Anderson, and was disciplined. I was fired. I don't recall what I did after that incident, but it seems I vented my righteous anger, upsetting the client greatly. Emily tried her best to defend me, but they said as long as I was with the company, they would cease all business dealings. "You're not entirely at fault, but please understand," he said. "Yes, I'm sorry for the trouble I caused. Thank you for everything up until now," I replied. I apologized to Mr. Anderson, who looked troubled. Thus, my career as a working professional ended less than a year after it began. My seniors and colleagues were sad to see me go and wanted to throw a farewell party, but I just accepted their good wishes. It wasn't a great ending, but I felt somewhat relieved. I wanted to protect the honor of Mr. Johnson and Emily. I don't regret it because it was for that reason. I might have let my anger get the better of me, but there was no falsehood in my actions. Well, it can't be helped. I need to start looking for a new job. As I thought about what kind of job to look for next, I headed home. Soon after, I started searching for a new job and managed to land some interviews. Before leaving home, I checked multiple times for anything I might have forgotten, and as I walked to the station, I couldn't help but look around, half expecting to see that old gentleman again. There's no way he's here. I chuckled to myself and was about to enter the station when an elderly lady with a big bag approached me, just like last time. "Excuse me, could you tell me where Platform 5 is?" "Platform 5 is over there. I'm headed to Platform 6, right next to it. Shall we go together? I can help with your bag." "Oh, thank you, I appreciate it." I took half of the old lady's bag and started walking. After guiding her to Platform 5 and seeing her off, I checked my watch and realized I had plenty of time before my train. Leaving early had paid off, ensuring I'd be prepared for any unforeseen circumstances. I was confident everything would be fine this time. Even if I had lost my wallet again. What? The wallet I thought I had put in my pocket was gone again. It's not here, not again. This can't be happening. It's absurd. I've been so careful since the last time and never lost it once, so why today of all days? Trying to calm my near panic, I took a deep breath. Calm down. I have time today. Let's search methodically. As I looked around, suddenly someone tapped me on the shoulder. Whoa! I let out a loud exclamation. The person who tapped me also seemed startled and let out a small scream. I recognized the voice and quickly turned around. You scared me with that loud voice. Emily. It was Emily, standing there. She was not in her usual suit, but in casual clothes. Why are you here? This station wasn't near her home. As I looked puzzled, Emily held out a wallet. It was mine. You dropped this. Oh, thank goodness. Thank you. You know, you should stop keeping your handkerchief and wallet together. It's too easy to lose them. Yes, I'm sorry. Really, it's a good thing I happened to see it. Emily sighed with a wry smile. Why are you here, Emily? Do you have the day off? When I asked, she nodded slightly. I actually quit my job. What? Why? Since you left, the company's policies have changed a lot. I started feeling like they weren't a good fit for me, especially since they're not continuing the vision of the previous president, Mr. Johnson. That's why I handed in my resignation. The current president, Mr. Anderson, tried hard to stop me, but my mind was made up. Then, people who used to spread rumors about me suddenly started apologizing. Some even turned over a new leaf and became kind. Emily laughed, her expression surprisingly light. So, I thought, if I was going to be at that company, I might as well start my own. A company that carries on Mr. Johnson's legacy. What do you think? Good idea, right? She smiled. That's amazing. I was waiting for you at the station. James told me about you. Why me? When I asked, Emily beamed. I came to scout you. Let's start a company together. I think we'd work well together. What? I was speechless for a moment, not fully grasping what she said. Starting a company together that carries on Mr. Johnson's legacy. What an incredible opportunity. I immediately agreed. That sounds exciting. I'd love to join you. Thank you. Then let's start planning right away. Right now, when you decide to do something, you have to act immediately. Hearing that, I quickly sent an email to cancel the job interview I had scheduled for today. Emily gently took my hand and led the way. My second chapter in the corporate world began unexpectedly, but I couldn't be more excited about it. I'm sure Mr. Johnson, watching from heaven, would be proud. Now it's time to truly pay it forward. With that thought, I was filled with determination. Places like this are meant for poor folks like you. It's true, we weren't born into privilege. Still, my sister and I have supported each other and made it this far. Seeing our classmate laugh at us through his nose really made my blood boil. There's no watch here that you could afford. People at the bottom should be fine with dollar store watches. Now scram. My sister, staring back at the classmate who was shooing us away with his hand, had a fierce look in her eyes. Is that so? There's no watch that we can afford. Well then, I'll cancel the watch we had reserved. Could you please refund the deposit we paid? And with that, she extended an envelope to our classmate. My name is John. Recently, I lost my parents in an accident and have been staying at a relative's house with my younger sister, who's in elementary school. It must have been tough. We can't offer much luxury, but you're welcome to stay here until you graduate from high school. I'm currently a senior in high school, and my sister, Emily, is in the 6th grade. Having suddenly lost our parents, we were in a daze, but our relatives took us in, even if it was just for a limited time. We owed them our gratitude. However, it was tough living in a large family home. I gave up on going to college and started a part-time job to save money for living expenses for Emily and me, as well as to help out around the house. We had a small inheritance from our parents, but I wanted to save as much as possible for Emily's future, and I also needed to contribute to the living expenses of the relatives who had taken us in. So, I dropped out of high school as the new semester began. "John, are you going to be late again today?" Emily, clutching her favorite stuffed animal, looked up at me anxiously. She had been less cheerful lately. Being the youngest in the relative's household, I worried she might be getting bullied, but to dispel these concerns, I needed to save money as quickly as possible to find a place for just the two of us. "Sorry for making you feel lonely. We'll leave here soon and live together, just the two of us. It won't be long now." I patted Emily's head and rode off on my bike down the still brightening street. I was working a morning paper route. My boss, Alan, was very understanding of my situation and always looked out for me. "John, you're planning to go straight into work after dropping out of high school, right?" "Yes, I've already left school. I'm planning on moving once Emily graduates." One day, after finishing my morning route, Alan approached me at the office. "The location isn't great, but I might be able to set you up with a job. Do you want to hear about it?" It was at a factory owned by a friend of Alan's, involved in forestry and located deep in the mountains, but they were offering a house near the mountains as a residence. It's tough to rent a place as a high school dropout, and the factory is struggling with an aging workforce and a shortage of labor. You're strong and a quick learner. Alan had arranged this opportunity, knowing our difficult situation and that his friend's factory was desperately short of workers. "Thank you so much. This is really helpful, as we were struggling in both aspects. In our rural hometown, job and housing options were limited for someone who had dropped out of high school, so this was an extremely generous offer." A few days later, Alan took me to the remote factory to introduce me, and we also visited the house at the foot of the mountain that they were offering. It was a small, single-story house, surprisingly neat on the inside. The utilities were clean, and the toilet was modern. It was small, but more than enough for the two of us. It was originally a mountain cabin that I renovated for my daughter. She moved to New York for work this spring, so it's vacant now. The factory manager, Mr. Miller, was a calm and kind manual. As planned, we would start working and move in March, but during the long holidays, we could stay in the house and work at the factory as a part-time job. Having secured both a job and a house, I went to thank and say goodbye to my high school teacher, Ms. Wilson. "I'm glad for you. Life might be tough, but do your best," she said, gifting me an expensive-looking pen in a beautiful box as a parting gift. "Thank you so much. I appreciate all the support during this short period," I said to Ms. Wilson, expressing my gratitude before leaving the staff room. Then, I unexpectedly ran into someone I didn't want to see. It was Bob, the son of a landowner in this area. Always acting superior, he's the typical spoiled rich kid. "Hey, it's Pua John. I heard you quit school." He approached me with a smirk. "Working after quitting school, must be hard being poor, living off his parents' wealth." He's always been like this. Being the son of a landowner and one of the wealthiest in our class, he always needed to feel superior to others, constantly belittling everyone. Of course, I was no exception. In this rural area, our class had mostly stayed the same from elementary through high school. Most of my classmates had endured his arrogance for 12 years, but I was relieved to retire early from it. During field trips, he would show off his lavish multi-tiered lunchbox filled with gourmet food, critiquing everyone else's lunches. "Wow, your lunch is so plain. Just frozen food. Feel sorry for you. Commoners' lunch is always so small. Can afford more food. Such comments would leave me silent, looking down, unable to respond. He spoiled the fun of every trip. His behavior wasn't limited to field trips, sports festivals, cultural festivals, even everyday school life. He was always the same. "I'm everything, and you all are nothing." That was his usual taunt. If anyone tried to respond, he'd say, "Whoa there, don't talk back to me, poor guy. I might catch your poverty, haha." But today, he added, "I'm different from you. After graduation, I'm moving to a luxury apartment in New York and going to a prestigious university. While I thought his university choice didn't matter, I was relieved this would be the last time I had to deal with him. "Yay, that's great," I replied briefly and quickly left. Then, as the new year turned to March, Emily graduated from elementary school and was set to start middle school next month. "We appreciate everything you've done for us. From now on, it's just the two of us." With that, we left our relative's house and moved to our new home. Our belongings were surprisingly few. During the winter, I had gotten my license and bought a used moped for commuting, and I worked hard every day at the remote factory. I bought Emily a bike as a gift for starting school. The commute was long, but we managed. "Sorry, it's far and inconvenient for you to get to school." "No, it's okay. Thank you for everything, John. You work so hard every day." Fortunately, the factory's hours ended before dark due to its remote location. Though I started early, I managed to shop and cook dinner every day, ensuring we always ate together. We made sure to have conversations during dinner, despite the hardships, and life was relatively enjoyable. "John, I have a request." As she was about to enter high school, Emily spoke seriously. "I want to go to college." She handed me a brochure from a national university. "I want to study marketing. I'm determined to make life easier for you in the future, and I believe I have a chance with my current academic abilities." "That's fine, Emily. Do what you want. I couldn't go, but if it's your wish, I want to support you." I have been saving for my part-time job before dropping out and hadn't touched our parents' inheritance for this very moment. We were able to rent this house at a low cost thanks to Mr. Miller's kindness, and we hadn't indulged in any major luxuries. So I had enough savings to afford her education at an average private university. When I told Emily this, she said, "Thank you, I'll definitely pay you back," and studied even harder. Already excelling academically, she consistently topped her class in high school and got accepted into her desired national university on her first try. "Well, I'm official. I'll come back during the summer and New Year holidays, so don't look so sad. I'll do my best." With her few belongings, Emily boarded the train. The house, where we had supported each other for 6 years, suddenly felt too spacious. Emily was doing her best on her own, and that motivated me to continue working hard. Even though Emily was attending a national university, living alone was costly, so I sent her money every month. It was always a joy to hear about her university life when she came home for the long holidays each year for 4 years. "John, I'm fine now. Thanks to you, I've landed a great job." In the spring of the 5th year after Emily left, she called with cheerful news. She had secured a position at a well-known major marketing company. "That's amazing. You've done so well." I couldn't stop my tears over the phone. Ever since we left our relative's house, I knew we had faced many challenges. Our situation was far from privileged, and I had to ask her to endure a lot. Going to college, that was the first thing Emily ever asked of me. "What are you talking about? I only made it this far because of you." We praised each other with those words. Half a year into her job, Emily sent me a letter along with an express train ticket. "Dear John, now it's my turn to repay your kindness." The ticket was for my birthday. "Hello, Emily." I called her in a rush. "Hey, John, did you get the ticket? Come visit me. I'm waiting for you." Emily's voice was playful over the phone. On the day, I had to leave work a little late, so I ended up heading to our meeting spot in my work clothes. "You're going to see Emily, right? Take it easy and take the next 2 days off," my boss said. I barely caught the express train in time. In about 2 hours, I'd be at the place where Emily was waiting. I wondered if it was okay to meet her in these clothes as I drifted off to a brief sleep. "John, it's been a while." As soon as I arrived at the station, Emily ran up to me, Seeing her after about half a year felt both nostalgic and reassuring. It's been a long trip, thank you. Come on, I have a place to take you today. Follow me. She took my hand and led me to her car. Riding in the car Emily drove felt oddly refreshing. As we chatted about trivial things and drove, we arrived at a high-end watch store. This is the place. She urged me out of the car and into the store. I wanted to give you a lifetime gift for all the help you've given me. No, I'm not dressed for this, and it's too expensive. She practically pushed me into the store, where I was stunned to see a familiar face. Welcome. Oh, it's you, John. It was Bob, our former classmate. What's with that outfit? This isn't a place for poor people like you. He made a shooing gesture, obviously annoyed. Emily immediately stepped forward. I'm here to buy a birthday present for my brother. Is there a problem? Well, so you're begging your sister for watches now. You're hopeless. He laughed mockingly, comparing me and Emily, then turned to her. How did a poor girl like you manage to buy a watch from here? Did you sleep with some old guy for money? Emily remained cool. Hey, what do you know about my sister? So is your sister doing sugar dating for her brother? Even if you wear a watch from here, it wants you to drop out like you, pearls before swine. He opened the store door. Bottom feeders should stick to dollar store trash watches. Now scram. Bob tried to shoo us out. Emily took a deep breath and then said quietly, I understand. We can afford a watch from here, can we? That's what I'm saying. Now leave. Bob responded grudgingly. Then, Emily pulled an envelope from her bag and handed it to Bob with a smile. We'll cancel the watch I reserved, so please refund the deposit I paid in advance. Bob's face turned blue as he looked through the envelope, which bore an expression of disbelief. Inside was a receipt for the deposit, paid for a limited edition watch worth $200,000. Emily had thought it would suit me and had customized a popular luxury watch for my birthday, preparing to pick it up. She had already paid a deposit of $150,000. The commotion attracted the store manager, Daniel. What's all this about? Miss Smith, we've been expecting you. Your reserved watch is ready. Please come this way. Daniel, seeing Emily, greeted her respectfully and started to lead us to a private room for discussions. Emily shook her head. I'm sorry, but could you please cancel it? It seems there's no watch here we can afford. So we'll buy one that suits us better, she said, glancing at Bob. Bob stood there, pale and trembling. What is the meaning of this, Bob? Daniel's expression, once gentle, was now filled with anger, but he quickly turned to us. We deeply apologize for our staff's behavior. As for the refund, given the amount, please allow us to visit you later with an apology and the refund, he said. He seemed to be checking Emily's reaction. Don't worry, this incident isn't the fault of your store, but of him, so we won't mention it in an article. As far as I'm concerned, I wasn't here today. Daniel's concern was understandable. Emily was a popular blogger, and her posts could make or break a store. When Emily started university, I bought her a decent computer as a gift, thinking it would be useful for her studies and future work. She started a review blog, called Ems, as part of her marketing studies. Her honest product reviews, even if negative, always included constructive feedback, often proving accurate. Now, her blog reached over 1 million readers monthly, with advertising revenue sometimes exceeding $100,000. This influence helped her secure a position at a major marketing company, where she was fully utilizing her skills. Sorry, John. I didn't mean for this to happen. As we walked side by side, Emily seemed downcast. It's not your fault, Emily. Thanks anyway. We strolled around town in silence. Then I found an old shop. Though the building was old, it was well maintained, with the air of a long-established business. Hey Emily, shall we check it out? Sure, but what kind of store is it? As we approached, we realized it was a watch store. Wow, these are beautiful. An old man was working in the back, and the intricately crafted watches on display caught our attention. Welcome, all these watches are made by my husband. As I was looking at them, an old lady with a gentle demeanor spoke to me. Ah, the ones in the back, they're all exquisite, Emily remarked, captivated by the watches. I asked the elderly woman if we could watch her husband work up close. I was impressed by his quick and meticulous craftsmanship. He had been making watches here for over 40 years. John, this one looks like it would suit you. Emily pointed out a watch. The elderly woman smiled proudly. Oh, you have a good eye. That's one of his masterpieces. I only make and sell things I'm proud of, like my own children, the old man said softly, glancing up with eyes full of confidence. The old man working quietly in the back muttered softly. Lifting his face for a moment, his eyes were filled with confidence. I bought the watch and immediately put it on my wrist. It felt surprisingly fitting. After thanking the elderly couple, we left the shop. It turned out to be a good purchase in the end. I got permission, so I need to write a blog post about it as soon as we get back. Emily's face had brightened up completely from before. Years have passed since then, and the watch from that day still ticks on my wrist. I regularly visit that watch shop for maintenance and have grown close to the elderly couple. Mr. Garcia, I'm here for the maintenance again. Oh, John, it's wonderful to see you taking such good care of it. I'll take a look at it right away. Have a seat and relax. Now, I even have tea with Mrs. Garcia while waiting for the maintenance. By the way, please thank Emily for me. Thanks to her, we've had an increase in customers. She said this with a smile. After Emily introduced Garcia Watch Shop in her blog, it went viral. It's now a popular shop with a 1-year waiting list for reservations. Really, we've been so busy lately, but it's a good problem to have. The old man appeared to be smiling as well. While we were talking, customers started visiting and making reservations. Here you go, it's done. The watch, returned to my wrist after maintenance, seemed to shine even brighter. Thank you so much, especially with how busy you are. I thanked the elderly couple and left the shop. The luxury watch store where I had encountered Bob was gone. After that incident, Daniel and Bob apparently visited Emily with an apology. Emily said she wasn't concerned about the $200,000 watch anymore but would never forgive Bob for his behavior towards me. Bob was fired from the watch store and faced a significant compensation claim for losing Emily as a major client in the $200,000 deal. He hasn't returned to our hometown, and his whereabouts are unknown. Rumors say that after telling his parents about the compensation, they were furious and disowned him. Emily and I have since married, and I moved to Tokyo. I am now an apprentice at Garcia Watch Shop, learning to make watches. Repeated visits for maintenance led to an offer to take over the shop. At first I declined, thinking I owed the original factory a favor, but I was overcome by the old woman's enthusiasm. The opportunity to learn from Mr. Garcia was a significant draw. Mr. Miller from the factory sent me off with his blessings. Now, my sister's family lives nearby, making for lively and warm days. The hardships of my student days were significant, but the warm family I sought is now here with me. John, I brought some snacks. Emily visited the workshop with my niece, Jennifer. In moments like these, I savor the happiness, hoping for these peaceful times to continue. With this hope, I live each day to the fullest. The weather forecast coming from the DV mentioned that today in New York, it will be sunny with occasional clouds. Facing the bathroom mirror, I checked for any missed spots while shaving my beard. I am the sales director of a small company with just over 30 employees. and today was the day of a crucial business negotiation that could determine the fate of our company. For the past few years, the company had been struggling, facing significant losses. At this rate, we might go bankrupt. All the employees were deeply concerned. The chance that came our way was this major negotiation with a big corporation. I was assigned to lead the presentation. I joined the company 20 years ago when it was still small. Together with the founding members, we worked tirelessly, hand in hand, to grow the company. Destroying this company, to which I am so emotionally attached, was unthinkable. I had bought a new shirt and suit for this day, and I was fully motivated to succeed. Finally, I put on the time my wife gave me on our anniversary and grabbed my phone to send her a message. My wife, Emily, who is 10 years younger than me, is currently hospitalized in a city hospital. She has been suffering from a rare disease for the past 3 years. Busy with work, I can only visit her on weekends, but we stay in touch through texts and calls during the week. I had told Emily about the business negotiation. When I messaged, "I'm heading out," she replied, "Good luck." During our last phone call, she expressed concern, saying, "I'm sorry I can't be there to support you at such a critical time." I responded with a laugh, "Then send me a fighting spirit text on the day of the negotiation." It's already this late. I chose an unused luxurious leather bag and put on the most expensive brand shoes I own. My attire was perfect. I had spent all of last night revising the documents. For several months, I had been preparing tirelessly, sparing little time for sleep. Confident, all that was left was to present. Full of determination, I took my usual crowded train to the office. Upon arriving at the office, I greeted my colleague James, who sits next to me. "Good morning, James." "Oh, good morning, David. Today is finally the day for that big negotiation, huh?" James is the deputy sales director, having joined the company in the same year as me. Just as James said, "Good luck," my phone rang. Looking at the screen, it was from the hospital where Emily is admitted. I had a bad feeling. When I answered the call, the woman on the phone said, "Are you Emily's husband?" Just now, her condition suddenly worsened, and she's in a very critical state. She's currently undergoing treatment in the ICU. Critical state. Please come to the hospital immediately. Is Emily going to die? No way. We just exchanged messages a little while ago. Shocked by the sudden news, I was visibly shaken. James approached me, noticing my distress. "David, what's wrong? You look pale. Did something happen to Emily?" "James, Emily. Her condition has suddenly worsened." "What? Then you must go to the hospital right away." "But I have an important business negotiation coming up." "Idiot. Is this the time to be saying that? If you don't go now, you might never see Emily again." James grabbed my shoulders and shook me. "But what will happen to the company if today's negotiation fails? If I don't go, no one else can take my place. If today's negotiation fails, the company could collapse. If the company that we've worked so hard to grow goes bankrupt, dozens of people, including the families of our employees, will be left destitute. I can't just think of myself and let such a situation happen. I can cause trouble for so many people. But if Emily dies while I'm at the negotiation..." Thinking of the worst-case scenario, I broke out in a cold sweat. As I continued to struggle internally, James spoke to me. "Is this the time to hesitate? I'll go to the negotiation in your place. You need to get to the hospital, otherwise, you'll regret it for the rest of your life." "But James, you don't know the content of the presentation, do you? There's no time left before the negotiation. Can you really take over without any preparation?" "Don't worry, I've been in sales for 20 years. I'm a veteran. Don't worry about that and go see Emily. You still have things you want to say to her, right?" "Things I want to say to Emily." Yes, there's something I haven't told her. I need to tell her, thank you for marrying me. Thank you for being with me and loving me. I've always been too shy to say it, but I want to tell her properly now. It's too painful to not be by her side while she's suffering. At least in her final moments, I want to hold her hand so she doesn't feel alone. Just leave the negotiation to me. Encouraged by James's words, I stood up from my seat. Thank you, James. I'm counting on you. I handed the presentation documents to James and headed to the hospital where my wife was. I ran from the station to the hospital and arrived at the ICU. I asked a nurse there. "Excuse me, how is Emily's condition?" The nurse replied. "Emily, she's not here." I felt as if all the blood had drained from my body. My mind went blank. Then the nurse said, "Emily has just finished her treatment and has been moved back to her regular room." Hearing that, I rushed to her room as if shot from a cannon. "Please don't run in the hallway." I heard a nurse's voice from behind, but I couldn't pay attention to that. When I entered the room, Emily was sleeping on the bed. "Emily," I called out to her hesitantly. Then, Emily's eyes suddenly opened. "Emily." Seeing my face, Emily smiled her usual smile. "David, what happened? Don't you have an important negotiation today? Are you okay?" "Emily, I'm so relieved." I knelt in front of the bed and held Emily's hands in mine. "You were just on the brink of life and death." Hearing that, Emily looked shocked. "I'm so glad Emily is safe. I'm so glad I could see her again." Tears of relief streamed down my cheeks. Then Emily, too, started crying. "David, I'm fine now, so you should hurry to the negotiation." Emily said that to me. Hearing this, and after being assured by Dr. Smith that Emily's condition was stable, I headed to the client's company. On the train, I looked at my watch and realized that the negotiation had already started. It might be too late to go now. This thought filled me with anxiety. But there might still be a chance. Hoping against hope, I found myself standing in front of the client's building. At that moment, I saw James coming out. Had the negotiation already ended? What was the result? Feeling anxious, I called out to James. "James." Noticing me, James approached. "David, how's Emily? Is she okay?" I responded to James' concerned voice. "Yeah, thankfully she's miraculously recovered and is now stable." James looked relieved. "That's good to hear." "But James, how did the negotiation go?" When I asked about it, James' expression turned serious. "Well, the presentation material you prepared with so much effort, it wasn't useful." Hearing James' words, I was stunned. Although I had braced myself for the worst, it was still a shock. So it is. It's not your fault. Trying to present with just the material on short notice was tough. It turned into a mess. "I'm sorry." James said this, looking down, then raised his head, looked into my eyes, and dropped a bombshell. "But the negotiation was successful." Really? How?" I was puzzled. Then, James patted my shoulder and said, "You see, the manager on their side, Michael, was a fan of Emily. When I told him your wife was the former singer Emily, he agreed to the contract with us." "What, really?" "Yes, my wife Emily was once a member of a popular girls group when she was young. After marrying me, she retired from the entertainment industry to live as a homemaker." James talked about such a thing during an important negotiation. I was a bit astounded, but in the end it worked out. "Well, you see, I honestly explained to Michael why you couldn't come today, and from there, it came out that your wife used to be a singer. Michael said Emily's songs and smiles had often cheered him up when he was feeling down and struggling with work. He was almost in tears, talking about how he wanted to return the favor, and that's why he decided to contract with us this time. So that's how it was. What a coincidence. In a business negotiation critical to our company's future, I never imagined my wife would be the one to save us. But I had to be thankful to James for turning such a coincidence into a successful negotiation. James, thank you. It's nothing. Then we both returned to the office and reported the results to President Johnson, who was overjoyed. Our company was saved from bankruptcy. I was truly relieved. After work, James and I celebrated our success at our favorite bar, raising a toast. Half a year later, Emily's illness improved, and she was able to leave the hospital. I became good friends with Michael through work and even started going out for drinks together in our private time. I later found out that on the day of the negotiation, Michael had already decided to give us the job after seeing the presentation materials. Hearing this, I felt a bit relieved. Of course, the story about Emily was true too, Michael said with a shy smile. On Christmas that year, we decided to have a party at our house. We invited Michael, who had become a close friend, and of course, James was invited too. Michael was very happy to meet Emily. Nice to meet you, Emily. I'm so happy to meet you. Nice to meet you. My husband always speaks highly of you. They exchanged a firm handshake. As we ate the food Emily cooked and drank, Michael shared his story. Years ago, he went through a period of severe mental distress, began suffering from depression after a major mistake at work, and couldn't go to work. It was so severe that he even contemplated ending his own life. During that time, he became a fan of Emily's girls group, which gave him the courage to live. If it weren't for you, I might not be alive today. Thank you for giving me the strength to live. Hearing this, Emily started crying. I'm so happy to hear you say that. I'm glad I worked hard back then. Watching the two of them, I couldn't help but tear up a bit too. I had heard that idols give people dreams and courage. I really felt it then. 3 months later, when I returned from work, Emily ran up to me, saying, "Welcome back. I have something important to tell you." She then urged me to sit on the sofa, saying, "Please, sit down." "What is it?" "Well, I'm pregnant." Emily said this with a bright smile. "Really?" "Yes. I went to the hospital today. I'm 12 weeks along." "That's great, Emily." Overwhelmed with joy, I hugged Emily. 10 years have passed since then, and Emily's illness hasn't recurred. We now have a daughter. Look, Mom, what do you think of this dance move?" Saying this, our daughter held a mic in her right hand, singing and twirling her left hand, then placing it on her waist, swaying her fluffy skirt as she danced. She was going to sing at a school presentation in front of the whole school. The dance is good, but remember, smile more, smile. Just like a former idol. Of course, my wife said playfully. Our daughter, now in the 4th grade, dreams of becoming a singer when she grows up. She was inspired by watching DVDs of Emily's performances, seeing how the audience smiled while listening to her songs. I want to give people energy with my songs, just like Mom. That's a recent catchphrase. Watching our daughter sing, my wife and I exchanged smiles.